Hey, listen, A just wanted to say we're going to talk about why your friends don't understand Bitcoin. But first, roll the intro.
Like Lil she playing, controlling that she gaming. Got me to the max, I'm airdropping and it's draining. I think I've fallen in love with Mrs. Fawcett.
All right, so let's get into it. And for the people that just want to know right off the bat, it's because they are privileged. And let me just go into that a little bit more, just with like a personal story. And this actually happened quite recently. So I was with a few of my guys that I meet on a monthly basis for dinner, and we, just talking about life and everything, and catching up. And I it got to the towards the end of the of our time, or which I thought, and one of the guys that was there, he is a financial advisor, and he's studying for the third part of his CFA exam, and so and I believe that's like certified financial advisor. Crazy exam to go through. But so I was just asking him about that, and this is how like I'm the Bitcoiner I'm like the Bitcoin guy in my group, because like I was just gonna ask him a question, but and all I said was, is there and he knew like I was about to say like, is there like XYZ or whatever in it, and he just instantly thought I was gonna say, did they talk about or what I said was like, in the exam, or like when you're studying, like are they talking about, and like he kind of like interrupted me. It was like, nah bro, they don't talk about Bitcoin in those exams or whatever, and I just started laughing. I was like, well, I wasn't gonna say that, but I was just gonna ask, do they talk about inflation and go into that, and so he confirmed, yes, they talk about inflation in the CFA exam, and go into why it should be like 2% and all these things. And so like I was just baffled, because it's just like, me continuing to study Bitcoin and listening to all these podcasts and people talking about the history of money and what happened in 1971, like all these things. Yeah, I just think like inflation is pretty evil. Like, we just say it for what it is. At least I think it is just stealing people's purchasing power, stealing people's devaluing their worth. Because if you're going to your job day in and day out and you get paid in dollars, and the Fed is reaching a 2% inflation target, that's 2% they are actively trying to devalue the money that you're working for. Now, I mentioned that, and the guy, he was pretty defensive about it, because understandably. He's in the financial space, and you kind of see that with people in the financial space, because they're engulfed in the system. And so I was just talking about it and saying like, yeah, it's Steph, and I said like, okay, just say like, what is inflation? Is it not devaluing people's money, the dollar? And he's like, yes, it is. And then he added but at the end, and I had to cut him off there. It's like, okay, you say but at the end of the day, they are devaluing the dollar, people's purchasing power. And so he goes into it and saying like, yes, but it's also propping up the economy, which helps, like, which is ultimately helping like America and like all these things. It's just like, yes, but like we don't need that. Like that's why this whole system is so broken, is because it's all built upon this money supply and inflation continuing to grow. And the only reason why this system is staying afloat for now is because they're continuing to print money. So I just kept going into it, and like I was seeing people's, like the other guys' look, and like I could see like some of them were thinking like I was a little crazy, but just like because there's some new guys, and then they're kind of asking like, "Is he always talk about Bitcoin?" Like it's like, no, not really, but I mean, some of these guys know me and they know I like Bitcoin, but I just went around and was asking everybody. It's like, okay, like what is the, when you hear Bitcoin, like what's like the negative connotation that you instantly think of? And one of the guys said like meme coin and just like scam or whatever, and like Doge and like all those things. And so it's just like, and these guys are like late 20s, early 30s, and they are still saying these all these old FUD pieces for Bitcoin when it's now a $2.5 trillion asset. The government has created a strategic Bitcoin reserve. Companies are building Bitcoin treasuries, and BlackRock, their biggest asset right now is the Bitcoin ETF. Like that's where they're making like most of their money, or it's like the most profitable ETF that they had. It's only been out for like a year and a half. And so the fact that they're still having this mentality about that, it just shows like we're still early. And so yeah, we just continued to talk about it for a bit. And at the end, the only thing that I could get across to them that even the financial advisor guy agreed with was when I made this point about third world countries. When I mentioned that third world countries, how they have a hyperinflation and talking about like freezings of their bank accounts, and they have nothing, and Bitcoin is a solution to that. That's when the financial guy was like, now that is what I agree with. And I've talked to this guy before, and he'd agreed with me before on that point again. But that's the only thing that they can legitimately say, okay, I get that. But then everything else, they talk about, because, I say, it's, digital gold, all these things. And they're just like, well, we have, when was the last, like, what did we all pay with, like, to get this food tonight? Like, we used our card, it's all digital, all these things. It's like, yes, okay, I get everything is digital already, but that's not the point. And I went into like, what is money? And I explained, unit of account, medium of exchange, and store of value. And when I got to the store of value, I'm like, the dollar, it doesn't keep its value. And I went back to the inflation thing. And it's like, we need a money that, has all three of those characteristics and is outside the system that is actively devaluing your money. And that point I just could not get across. And like, so the fact that the only thing that got to them was that for third world countries, they get that use case, then probably the reason why your friends don't get it, if you're living in a first world country like the USA or even the UK or anywhere that's not, that doesn't have like a hyperinflating currency, that's unstable economy and all that, and you're not fearing for your bank accounts being frozen, then they don't care. Your friends don't care because they don't have a need to know. They don't have a reason to want to buy Bitcoin. Now for me, luckily, I got into Bitcoin when or I heard about Bitcoin in 2019, and I didn't act on it, or I acted on it, but I was just buying little by little, like $10 a month. And man, now looking back on it, when I first bought it was around like 7,000 7,000 Bitcoin at the time. If I would have went as hard as I'm going right now, man, I definitely would have a lot more Bitcoin, if I say so myself. but I was just in the right situation, you know, like I'm in IT. One of the, like, it was my trainer that was like trading crypto, and he was just like, yeah, bro, just buy Bitcoin. And that's all he said. He didn't say anything else. And I was just like, all right, tell me when to sell. And like, that was my mentality. But, you know, just throughout the years of, you know, discovering crypto and getting into that and falling into rug pulls and like all these things, and, you know, learning from trial and error. And I was finally that guy that was like, yo, there's got to be a project that like doesn't rug pull. And, you know, it's that like, yo, it's Bitcoin, you idiot. Like, I was pretty much like that guy. Like, I went through everything. It's like, dude, like, I understand like this industry, like where it's going, but it's like, what is the asset that I need to get into? And ultimately just came through trial and error and pain. I landed on Bitcoin. And so, and now through doing it, like my 1,000 hours of, you know, of listening to stuff and reading stuff and understanding and having the conviction to, you know, buy and continue to dollar cost average, like now I have this conviction. But, you know, I would say I'm pretty lucky. I was pretty blessed to, you know, fall into that situation to where I finally understand where this is going, that it's Bitcoin, not crypto, all these things. And so, yeah, I mean, ultimately, like, if you're not in a situation like that, and or where you like stumble upon it or have a friend that tells you about it, and you eventually come to the conclusion, then it's you telling your friends. If it doesn't click for them, then you basically, they're just privileged, like I said in the beginning. So coming full circle now, I after having that conversation with my friends that night, I've said my piece for all my close friends, and I think I'm good as far as orange pilling. Now, if they want to ask questions, you know, once it's like 200k, 500k, or a million Bitcoin, then hey, I'm all ears, and I'm here to help them. But yeah, I'm probably done orange pilling and just gonna, you know, stick to making videos, and if they want to reach out, they can. But yeah, that's the gist of it, guys, is that your friends are privileged. They don't feel the need that they don't feel like they need Bitcoin. You know, Bitcoin's a need to know, and like I said, you get a Bitcoin at the price you deserve. So yeah, just wanted to talk about that, since, you know, I had that experience and thought it might be helpful, and why other people might be asking the same question. Like, man, I'm telling people about Bitcoin, but nobody's getting it. So hey, there's your answer. And hey, that's just more sats for the rest of us. So just continue to stay humble and stack sats, and still be there for them if they ask questions. Like, don't be that guy that's like, hey, I told you so, have fun staying poor. Like, no, like if they ask questions, like, answer them and be there for them. But yeah, for me, I'm probably not going to be being proactive and trying to orange pill my friends anymore. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys on the next one. God bless.